Good morning and welcome to the Elevate Renatus team call. If you're just joining us, this is your host, Keely Austin. And as of right now, we have 58 participants on the line. Do reach out to your team. Make sure that no ICMs are left behind. And our goal is to reach and exceed 100 participants on each of these calls. Now, Ryan Black is someone I had the privilege of meeting in person just recently in Salt Lake City for the Salt Lake City Regionals, and he and Laura had an amazing training. I'm very grateful I was able to see that in person. Ryan Black brings over a decade of business and entrepreneurial experience to the table. As a former commercial filmmaker, Ryan began in Renatus in 2016 without any prior real estate investing experience. Together, he and his sweet wife, Laura, have completed many fix and flip transactions. They've built a solid rental portfolio, and they have served as the bank on both residential and commercial deals. Being fluent in both English and Spanish, Ryan has also focused considerable efforts on pioneering the way for immigrants to realize the American dream through the Renatus Educational Services and Income Opportunity. As a member of the President's Advisory Council, he serves alongside our CEO, Bob Snyder, to ensure the stability, growth, and longevity of Renatus around the country. Ryan lives in Utah with his wife and 3 children, where he also hosts the local Renatus Team Elevate events. His personal team of hundreds of Renatus students in ICM span the country, and many of them have already realized great success in their business as well. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing what Ryan has to share with us. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning. How you doing, Keely?
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
Doing awesome. Happy to be here, and thank you for the opener, the introduction. Thank you so much for dedicating every day. You're here every day, opening up for us on these calls. So once again, we appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I will grab.
And I have made you the host.
Awesome. Thank you. I will go ahead and share my screen here, and we will kick things off. So this morning, guys, I congratulate you for being here on this call. The topic of what I'd like to cover today is pretty simple, and it's this: how to maximize your results at intro presentations. So they go by different names: the epic, the intro, the 4 pillars, the 5 pillars. The name doesn't really matter. What we're going to focus on today is, as an ICM, how can you ensure that your guest has the best experience possible at that event, and which of course will give you a higher probability that they will want to return, because our business is simply a business of building from event to event to event. And so, if they have maybe a more of a negative experience at their first event, they're going to be much less likely to actually want to come back again. So, really, when we look at it, we make the invitations, we do everything we can in order to get a guest to come down to the meeting to learn more about what it is we're doing, and you really want that impression to be positive and have such a good experience. The key or the trick is, guests, they really don't know what to expect or how to act in the intro presentation. And so as ICMs, it's our responsibility to set that example and show them what to do, because they will follow our lead. And one thing so we're going to be going over some key points and talking about those things, simple things that we can do in order to ensure that we maximize that experience for our guest at that intro presentation. Sometimes folks think that it's all on the presenter. And that is, now obviously the presenter needs to do a good job. If the presenter doesn't do a good job, then you're in trouble. But the presenter in reality only has so much influence on the room. What the ICMs do during that presentation can truly make or break the night. And so that is what we are going to take a look at. Let me just hop over here to my whiteboard, and I'm just going to be kind of jotting down some notes here, and invite you to pipe in at any time. If you have any comments, feel free to jump in and join the discussion. So first thing we want to look at is let me adjust this here so that You guys can read my writing. Set expectations properly. Or maybe properly set expectations. I don't know. You guys get it. You know what I'm saying. Properly set expectations. And this is really important because a lot of times, every week I meet somebody who's had a meeting and they're like, yeah, I'm here. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm not sure what it is that I came to. They invited me here. And so, if you have somebody who is nervous, who's unsure, who doesn't know what's going on, that creates a feeling of insecurity and worry and fear in their mind. And we want them to be at ease. We want them to be calm and at ease and enjoying that experience. So, some of the things that we can look at and saying, how are we going to properly manage expectations of what it is that they're coming to see? Well, I would say, maybe a brief explanation of what it is that they're coming to. Now, that doesn't mean that we need to vomit information. That doesn't mean that we need to tell them all the details. But as you know, when we're doing the inviting and we're adding value and explaining why, creating intrigue, explaining why they need to come to the meeting, how it will benefit them, what we're doing is we're identifying one of those pain points, right? What are the pain points that they experience right now? Are they paying too much in taxes? Are they paying too much in interest? Are they flooded in debt or drowning in debt? Are they wanting to live in a house and they're renting? Are they living in their house and they're upside down? Are they tired of their job and wanting a second income stream? Whatever that pain point is that they're experiencing. Once we've identified, of course, that pain point, then we are going to steer the conversation towards showing how coming down to a meeting will solve or potentially solve that pain point they have, right? And so as we do that, once you've identified what the pain point is, then the brief explanation of what they're going to learn in the meeting is quite simple. So, for example, to give you guys an example, yesterday I was chatting. We're building a house right now, and I was at the house, and one of the electricians that was there was just wiring up things, and when I came in, we just started chatting, and long story short, I invited him to come down to an intro meeting, and because he said, "Oh, that's so cool that you do real estate. I've always wanted to get into that, but never did." And so I explained to him how we have a community of investors, and so I was asking questions to figure out what his pain points were, and then once I found those out, then my response was, "Well, great. I didn't say, I can't, I'm trying to remember. I think what I said was, you have to come," because I'm pretty direct. I'm like, dude, you have to. He was a younger guy. He's a little younger than me, but I said, all right, well then you have to come on Thursday. You've got to come check this out, because this is exactly what you're looking for, right? You're looking to meet other people who are doing deals here locally. You have experience as an electrician, but if you've been wanting to get into this, you can meet all these other guys and gals that are doing this, that do real estate, that are investing. How valuable would that be for you to be able to build those relationships and connect and network with them? And he's like, yeah, that's awesome. So, and I told him, I said, now, we have different mastermind study groups and things where we go over the content that we're learning from the professional instructors. We're there as students to support each other and to review and to provide insight. And it's like a support network. It's really cool. And I said, but we have a class that is kind of like an introductory class, goes over who we are, how we do it, different ways that you can engage with our group. And you can just learn some of the strategies that we're doing. It's very informational, no cost, no obligation. And I recommend you come on down and learn. You'll love it, because it'll show you how to get involved with a local group of investors, which is just exactly what you're looking for. And so I gave him a brief explanation. So if he were to show up, he would know, oh, I'm here for the group of investors to learn more. He knows what he's coming for. Now, it's obviously somebody else, if they're, if velocity banking was the interest that they had, well, that would be a very different conversation, right? But so the bottom line is figure out what their pain point is and then give them a brief explanation of what it is they're going to learn or the value they're going to receive based off of their pain point. So I think that's clear. Another point that is good to bring up is that it's a free class, right? Because sometimes people are like, well, how much is it going to cost? But when you tell them already, no, look, we got this free class. We're part of this community. We got a free class. You come on down, learn more, meet people, check it out, see what it is we're all about. That helps qualm their concern. Also, it's important to cover the schedule, right? So here locally, we are 7 to 9 p.m. And so you let them know, okay, yeah, just plan on 7 to 9. Invite them, hey, I recommend you come a few minutes early so you can get checked in, and so I can introduce you to a few people. But yeah, plan on 7 to 9. And with what we're doing in changing the intro presentation here in Salt Lake, we're paring it down to be done by 8:30 because attention spans are getting shorter and nobody wants to be sat and talked to for an hour and a half. And so as we pare down that intro presentation to where it's going to be done by 8:30, that gives us an opportunity to have a half hour's worth of time because they're planning on being there till 9, half hour's worth of time to continue to get customer testimonials, to have one-on-one discussions and conversations with the other members of the community, with the ICM that invited them, and really be able to, because now they know the value of what it is we do, they know the price, and so being able to then kind of push through some of those initial concerns and objections that they have by just having a conversation and just sitting there and chatting and hanging out until for another 20 or 30 minutes until 9. So, but it's important to let them know the time so that if their spouse or babysitter, whoever is expecting them to leave at a certain time, they know when it is that they're going to be leaving. Also important to cover the dress code. Now, what I say is I tell people, I say, look, this is, we're a community of real estate investors, a bunch of business people, a bunch of entrepreneurs. So most folks are dressed up to some level of, like business casual, something like that. I say, I wear a suit. There's quite a few folks who are wearing suits. I said, there's other people that dress more casually. How you dress is totally up to you. I just don't want you to feel uncomfortable. So make sure, most people will be dressed to business or business casual. You're welcome to come how you want. And but people appreciate it when they understand what the dress code is, because when we haven't told people what the dress code is, sometimes they show up and they say, oh man, I wish you would have told me. I would have dressed a little nicer because I feel out of place. And so, simply letting them know kind of how people are going to be dressed, then they can dress how they want, but at least they're well informed. Another point here is letting them know that it's to learn, that they're coming to learn, right? They're coming there to learn. And so it's all about positioning. Nobody wants to hear, hey, you're coming down to a sales presentation. Nobody wants to hear that, right? And so obviously what we're bringing them down for is we're bringing them down to learn. They're going to learn more about who we are, what we do, how we do it, how they can get involved, the benefits of real estate investing, some of the different strategies, examples of ways that we have implemented it, perhaps example of the debt pay down strategies that we use, everything that we do to create a solid, scalable financial outlook in life. And we do it together. We're in business for ourselves, but not by ourselves. And we do it together in a great environment with people that have high mindsets and a desire to progress and succeed. And that's what you're going to be coming to learn more about. Meeting some of the folks that are doing it and learning a bunch of information of how we do it so you can see if it would be a good fit for you. And so in talking about what it is that they're going to be doing, it's all about positioning, right? So positioning it as, hey, you're going to be learning. And so come prepared to learn. So make sure you bring a notebook, bring a pen, something to take notes with. People can take notes on their phone, but it's usually preferable that people take notes on something physical, because if they have their phone out, then every time they get a Facebook notification or something else, they're getting distracted. But if they just have like a notebook and a pen, then it's a little easier for them to remain focused. So you let them know, hey, you're going to be learning, so you want to bring something to take notes with. And that, once again, helps manage their expectations. And then kind of the last key thing that I would say for managing expectations would be to tell them about any key introductions that you're going to be making. Introductions, right? So you got to remember that this business is not about you. It's not about me. It's about everyone. And so when your guest comes down, once again, identifying whatever it is that their pain point was, I would be thinking, okay, so with this guy's name, his name's Josh. I was trying to think, okay, who do I know in the community who's an electrician? Because I would want to introduce him to another electrician. I couldn't think of an electrician at the time. I'm sure we have electricians in the community, but what I told him was, I said, you know what, and get there early because there's a couple of guys who are also contractors like you who have gone through this process of kind of running their own business, and then now they're still running their business, but they're now investing as well. And it's amazing the results of how how that's really exploded what they've been able to do in their business. And so I want to make sure to introduce you to a couple of these guys that are also contractors like you. So make sure you get there early, right? So you're once again adding value and creating intrigue, because then they're thinking, oh, cool, they're going to introduce me to somebody who is in a similar situation as I am. So those are kind of the basics for setting the expectations beforehand, getting them up and running, and that's all I have for that. So setting expectations so they know what to expect. Next, number 2, and this one is huge, and a lot of people are confused about this. They're confused about this, so I'm happy to be able to provide clarity on this. This is during the presentation. Once you're there, sit next to your guest. Sit next to your guest. You guys got to think about it. When we put yourself in the guest position, the guest shows up and you're the guest. You get there and the ICM says, okay, well, you're going to go here in this room and I'm going to go here in this other room. But what you're going to see is really, really important. But I'm going to go to this other room. What are you communicating to them without saying it? You're communicating several things, right? You're saying what you, the guest, are going to learn, I'm not interested in learning. Or maybe what you're going to learn, I already know. Or what I'm doing, I'm more interested in doing my thing rather than staying there and supporting you, right? Basically, if you had, I don't know, the most incredible investor instructor in the universe that showed up, you would be in that room. You'd be in that room because you'd want to learn, you'd want to listen. But instead we're saying, oh, you know what? I'm just going to go to my mastermind so that I can review with my fellow students what I'm learning in my classes. That communicates the wrong message. It communicates that what the guest is going to see is less important than what you want to go and do. So it's so, so important that even if you've already seen the initial presentation many times, it doesn't matter. Sit next to your guest. It shows that, and it also ties into the rest of these key points, because if you're not sitting next to them, you can't influence their experience if you just leave them by themselves. So stay there, sit next to them, be like, and if they say, well, I thought you had your mastermind that you're going to. Oh yeah, I'll go to the mastermind next week. It's more important for me. I want to be in here. I want to learn from this, this guy or from this gal, from what they have to prepared to teach today in the class that you're going to be in. So sit next to them and be there and be present. Next is to clap enthusiastically. Oh, somebody off mute. Let me see. Oh, I think they muted themselves again. All right. Clap enthusiastically. Clap. Oh, enthusiastic. Clap enthusiastically. Now, this one may sound, you may think that sounds silly. There we go. You may think that sounds a little silly, but there is such a big difference between, I'm going to get away from the mic so I don't blast your eardrums, but between, okay, we'll bring up our presenter or instructor or our facilitator, whatever, for tonight. Christian Sadler. Yay. What kind of energy does that create in the room versus, okay, I would like to bring up and welcome our presenter for the night, Christian Sadler. Yay! Right? There's a big difference between those two things. And remember that the guests, even when we manage their expectations, they're not going to truly understand how to act during the during the experience. And so they will follow the ICMs. So if we've got, I don't know, if we got 30 guests in the room and we got 30 ICMs, because every ICM is sitting there next to their guest, that is going to create an entirely different experience for everyone in that room when the ICMs are clapping enthusiastically and getting that energy level up. Then the guests will follow. And one thing that you could think about is, think in your mind when you're clapping, especially at the beginning, think about, what has Renatus done for you, right? What has Renatus done for you? How has it benefited your life? And as you're clapping, express that enthusiasm and that gratitude with your clap. Because as those people are there, those guests, they are there for the first time. They have no idea what's going on. It's really, it's kind of hard for us to explain the impact, the lasting impact that Renatus has had on our lives. And so it's something that people have to experience for themselves, right? So as we look at that, think about, okay, how has it benefited me, my family, my spouse, my kids, future generations? How's it changed my mindset? How is it, all the positive benefits that you've received from Renatus, and channel that through with your enthusiasm as you clap and as you welcome them, and that will just help set the stage for the presenter, right? And help create an environment where everyone's like, all the guests are thinking, wow, everyone's like super enthusiastic about this. What is so cool? What is it that I'm missing? Versus if there's crickets and it's a graveyard, well, that's not going to be very, very powerful. Okay, let's look at the next one. We have number 4. Number 4. Somebody's off mute again. I hear a plane flying.
Yeah.
Oh, do we have a question?
No, I'm accidentally off mute.
Oh, okay. All right. No worries. We've got clap enthusiastically. What's next? Oh, yes. Pay attention to the presenter. Let's see if I can write correctly here. Attention to the presenter. Pay attention to the presenter. So if you're there and you're on your phone and checking something else or doing something else, once again, what message are you communicating to your guest? You're communicating, I don't care. This isn't important. There's no value here. I'm not interested, right? It sends the wrong message. Now, on the flip side, or if you're looking around the room or you're sleeping or right, that sends the wrong message. Now, what if you are fully engaged and you're there, you're focused, you're paying attention, you're glued? Imagine that you're glued to, it's like you're at a movie theater. Your eyes are glued to the screen, right? Same thing. You're glued to the presentation because you're fully engaged in what's going on. If you're thinking, okay, I have seen this presentation 1 billion times. Okay, you've seen it less times than the presenter has because they're the ones giving it. So they've got you beat as far as how many times they've seen it because they're the ones giving it. But I would invite you to consider this. If you're thinking, seriously, for like, what, I've seen this presentation like 50 times. Why? Like, I don't want to hear it again. My question for you is, if you've seen it so many times, why aren't you in front of the room giving it? And I don't say that facetiously or sarcastically. It's a sincere question, because we in Renatus are all about leadership development and personal development. And so if you have seen that presentation so many times, you should be preparing yourself so that you can get up there and give it, right? This is not, a true leader does not want to be needed. A true leader wants to be succeeded. And so, if you're in that position where you've seen it, if you're newer, then obviously you just watch the presentation and absorb it in so that you can learn the content, and learn what it is, and learn how to give it. But if you are somebody who's been around a while and you're saying, I've seen this so many times, I could recite it by memory, you should be, but I would say, why don't you analyze the presentation then? When you're looking, because when people are presenting, especially those of us who have more experience as presenters and have been doing it a long time, everything that we do is very, very calculated, right? We're not actors, but so we're genuine in the way that we present and how we do it. But just like if you have a professional, a musician, or some type of person that's performing on a stage, they act in a certain way when they come out, when they play the music. There's a very there's an elegance, there's a rhythm, there's a mannerism about how they do what they do. And we as presenters have the same thing as far as where we look, how we walk, where we stop, the body language that we portray, how we move our hands, how we interact with questions, interact with the audience, right? How we pause when we're speaking, what words we, in which words we add emphasis, where we speak louder, we speak softer, we speak slower, we speak faster. All of that, if you think that that's random, anybody that has a lot of experience presenting, none of that is random. It's all very, very precise. And so my invitation would be, if you have seen the presentations a lot, analyze, break down, reverse engineer how it is that the person is presenting. Say, what is it that they're doing and why? Because that will allow you to then become a better presenter yourself and get yourself into a position where you, in the future, hopefully can be the one in the front of the room doing the same thing. Next, number 5. Take lots of photos and notes. If you realize all this goes back to setting an example, right? If I'm the guest, or if you're the guest and you look over and the ICM next to you is feverishly taking notes, and every time there's an interesting slide that pops up on the screen, they're like, oh man, and they pull out their phone and they snap a photo of the slide. What does that communicate? Got to realize we communicate so much more by our actions and our body language of what we're doing than by actually inviting in what we say. And so as a guest, you're thinking, man, this person's already in the group. They already obviously have learned more than I have because they're already engaged, and they're getting all of this value out of this. They're thinking, okay, I need to pay better attention. I'm missing something, or it just reinforces if they are fully engaged and their mind is being blown. They are thinking, holy cow, this is incredible, and the person next to me loves it too. I got another person. Okay. So very, very, very valuable to be taking photos and notes. And also from the presenter standpoint, when you're in the front of the room and you're presenting and people are constantly taking photos of the slides and feverishly jotting down notes, that kind of gives you more energy, gives you more, encouragement. And so, it's really hard. It's like, a stand-up comedian, if they're in front of the room and they're telling jokes and like, it's just crickets and silence, it's really hard for them to continue on their role. They kind of lose their momentum. And so as a presenter, when you have a group of people who are engaged, who are participating, who are loving it, obviously that helps you as the presenter to be able to have more enthusiasm and have more passion and increase your energy level, which then in turn creates a better experience for the room. Now, obviously, if the room is completely dead, that doesn't mean that the presenter is just going to, act like start talking like you're at a funeral service, but it definitely makes it easier on the presenter if they're able to bounce that energy back and ricochet the energy back and forth off of the audience. And that starts with the ICMs. Next, well, it's kind of goes right into this. We have be energetic and enthusiastic. So kind of already enthusiastic. Kind of already mentioned that, but yeah, the energy and the enthusiasm that you portray in the room will be captured and copied by your guests, as well as will be reflected or mirrored by the presenter. So once again, I said at the beginning, ICMs can make or break the night. So important. This is not a situation of, oh, I brought a guest, I'm going to throw them in the room and let the presenter take care of everything. You are so important. It is so important that the ICMs are in there and creating and nurturing an environment that allows the guest to have a positive experience. Because when you have a room full of guests, no ICMs, and one presenter, they simply cannot create that optimal environment that is only possible when we have ICMs in the room doing things right. This one you might think sounds funny, but it's true. Laugh at the presenter's jokes. Laugh at the presenter's jokes. I know you may be thinking, I've heard the jokes like 50 times. Laugh anyways. Because once again, if the jokes, and I mean, and be authentic, don't, like fake laughing doesn't get us anywhere. But, and I know it's hard to laugh at a joke when you've heard it so many times, but you got to remember, you've already seen this. You've already seen this information multiple times before, but for your guest, it's their first experience. And so we need to try to put ourselves in their shoes and think, okay, first time experience as a guest, what does this look like for them, and experience it like them. And so laughing at the jokes really helps out the presenter, and it shows the guests, hey, they're allowed to laugh too, because most people are so worried about looking good, right? They're so worried about looking good, and looking good means you're quiet, you don't cause a ruckus, you don't interrupt, you're just kind of there, quiet, just observing. And so as we're showing them, hey, we're different here, it's okay to talk, it's okay to ask questions, it's okay to interact and to laugh and to express yourself. That's something that's foreign to a lot of people. And so we want to be sure that we let them know that that's okay, and then they'll enjoy themselves more, right? It's all about engagement and keeping them engaged in what's going on, and laughing and having a good time and letting loose obviously contributes considerably to that. Answer the questions. Now, there's two types of questions that presenters will ask. They will ask generic questions, right? Who here wants more financial freedom in their life, right? Or do you want more time freedom and money freedom? Everybody should be answering that. Yes, absolutely. Of course, right? Because those are questions that everyone can be answering. And when a presenter, even if it's a rhetorical question, right? Once again, like, we're not we're not at a funeral. You're not supposed to be like dead silent. This is supposed to be something positive and enjoyable. So if somebody asks a question, it's like, yeah, absolutely. Yes, right? Interact with those rhetorical and general questions. With more specific questions, some presenters will ask, like I ask very specific questions. I'll ask people, what is it specifically, for those of you who have wanted to invest in real estate and have not up to this point, why? What's been holding you back? And so, of course, as ICMs, we know those answers. What are the roadblocks that keep people from investing? So my suggestion would be, for specific questions like that, to give the guests a few beats to where they can respond first. Because once again, if they're participating, if they're responding, they'll have a more positive experience. And sometimes the presenter will even call people out, right? They'll call out guests by name and say, Joe, what do you think? And especially if somebody's starting to like doze off or not pay attention, we'll call on those people to get them back engaged. And so, particularly if they're in like one of the front rows, because if you have people in the front rows who are not paying attention, that kind of reverberates back through the audience. So if somebody's in the front and they're not paying attention, you're going to pick on them so that they start paying attention, so that the people behind them don't think, hey, it's okay for me not to pay attention, because they set the example being in the front row. So if there are more specific questions, give them a few beats to the guests so that they can have an opportunity to respond. But if it's been a while and none of the guests know, then as an ICM, you could throw your hand in the air or say hey, I know, and then help move the conversation along, because we don't want to come to a standstill Yet at the same time, we do want to give the guests an opportunity to think and to respond. And then we have engage with your guests at the end. Now, what I've covered today is specifically how to maximize your results during the intro presentation. The conversation of how to maximize their experience before the presentation starts, right? From the second they get out of their car to right up until it starts, when you're sitting next to them, that's a whole different conversation, as well as a conversation of what to do immediately upon when the event ends up until they get back in their car and leave. That's a whole nother conversation, because there's very specific, kind of how I've laid it out here. And they're very simple things, right? It's not complicated. It's just a matter of knowing and understanding what it is that you should be doing in order to, once again, I love the word maximize your results. Because you've gone to that effort of having that conversation, of inviting them down and getting them there. You want to ensure that you have your best shot at them being able to be inspired and say, you know what, I'd love to learn more about this. This is what I've been looking for, as well as, just create a positive environment for everyone. So the last one is to really engage with them when it's over, right? Presenter ends. Thank you guys. Have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye. Some folks have a tendency to be like a jack in the box, right? They like launch out of their chair and they beeline to the door. Now, sometimes that's because they need to use the restroom. And I get it, right? Hopefully by shortening we've all been in that meeting situation where you're just doing the pee-pee dance, waiting for it to be over because you got to go to the bathroom. But other than that, if that's not your situation, try to use the facilities before it starts, so that's not a challenge. But other than that, what you should do, don't stand up, because once you stand up, that gives your guest permission to stand up. What you should do is simply rotate, right? You're sitting next to them anyways, and you simply rotate, turn over and look at them and say, in your own words, wow, what was your favorite part? What thing did you might like the most about what you saw tonight? Why? Because we're assuming that they loved it, because why not? What we have is incredible. And that is something that they just heard it for the first time. Their mind was blown. They've, their mind was open to a bunch of new possibilities of what can be done with finances, with investing, with properties, with their financial situation, and with debts. Like, this is new for them. So you have to assume, just like, if you've been watching a movie at a movie theater and it's just an incredible movie, and then it gets over and you're there with your significant other, and then as soon as the credits roll, you just look over to your significant other and you're just like, wow, that was incredible, and you start talking about your favorite scenes or the funniest thing or the scariest thing, whatever it is that happened in the movie, and you're very, very passionate. Like, you don't want to stand up and leave the theater, right? You want to stay there. Maybe you're waiting for a mid credits or post credits scene, or you just want to continue to enjoy the music while the credits are rolling. But the bottom line is that feeling, and I would hope everyone's had that. I'm more of a cinephile, but I think most people can have a very positive reaction when they're watching a movie that they really enjoy. Hang out, turn over to your guest and be like, oh man, that was incredible. What was your favorite part? And then you start having that conversation, especially with the way that we're formatting it now, where we have, a good solid half hour of just chill time, people hanging out and making more introductions to other community members, sharing stories, sharing experiences, and answering any of their concerns or doubts that they have right from the get-go. And so from there, another thing, I'll just throw this in as a bonus, but it's very valuable if you are not 5-star qualified to invite them to introduce your guests to your 5-star affiliate, because your 5-star affiliate may be, somewhere else or running around, or maybe they're the ones that are presenting. It doesn't matter, but just letting them know once you get to a point in that conversation where you can kind of tell that, you've already a BAM fam, you've already booked the next event from that event, figured out what the next step is with them. You got everything planned out. Kind of the cherry on top, as it were, or the icing on the cake would be for you to say, you know what, before you leave, and once again, if you're done speaking at 8:45, 15 minutes of chatting, they're expecting to be there till 9, and they're saying, well, okay, I guess I'll see you, see you tomorrow at the house tour or whatever. Then say, awesome. Hey, real quick, before you leave, I want to introduce you to somebody who I really look up to, really respect, somebody I work with here in the business, and I'd love for you to meet them. That would be, I think you'd really enjoy meeting them. So, oh, there they are right over there. And then, you most likely need to take your guest over to your 5-star, particularly if your 5-star has a large team. Because if your 5-star has a large team, there's going to be a lot of people bringing them guests. So you go and find them and then introduce them. Hey, 5-star guest, well, using their names, of course, but hey, this is a person and they came down tonight, just kind of check out what it is that we're doing, learn more. And then your 5-star will do the same thing. We'll ask them, awesome, great to meet you. Hey, good to have you here tonight. What was your favorite part about tonight? That guest is going to continue to reinforce their favorite aspect of the night. In their mind, they're creating a mental affirmation of why they're justifying, in their mind, they're selling themselves as to why they need Renatus, because they're justifying, well, this is what I like the best, and this is why I need this. And then, of course, your 5-star will a BAM fam as well say, well, great. Hey, we've got the house tour tomorrow night. You're coming down to the house tour, right? You see, yeah, okay, great. Well, we'll see you there. We'll be there at the house tour. We can continue the conversation. And also typically the 5-stars will also ask for contact info, right? Even though it's your guest, like they're registered to you in the system and everything, they're protected. There's nothing to worry about there. But, a 5-star affiliate that's really on their A game should be getting the contact information for your guests as you're trying to qualify, so that they can interact directly with them as well. So you're the one that invited them, but once a guest comes down, it's really kind of the trifecta at that point. Now it's the ICM that's qualifying, the guest, and the 5-star who is in the supporting role. Now, if you're already 5-star qualified, obviously that doesn't apply. You can you have the skill set and knowledge necessary to be able to just handle it on your own. But if you are still in qualification, working towards that qualification, awesome. That 5-star can exchange contact information so that they can continue to follow up as well and provide support. And it makes the guest feel great that, man, I just met this person who's more experienced in the business, who's been here longer, done more, and they would like my phone number so that they can and they let them know, hey, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to chat, and we'll see you tomorrow. So that reinforces that as well. So in summary, we have these things: sit next to your guest, manage the expectations, set the example in everything that you do during the intro, and just remember that what you do and how you act during the presentation will have a profound impact on the experience that your guest has. I want to open this up real quick. We're about to the top of the hour. If there are any questions, do we have any questions or comments that anybody hop over here to our questions or comments before wrapping up? And I would also remind you that we do have live education today and tomorrow. Managing Credit is the class today. It's a new class that's started a few minutes ago. And then we've got Intro to Commercial Properties, which is an update that will be filmed tomorrow, as well as Super Saturday this Saturday here in Utah, and EMT here in Utah starts tonight. So come and check that out as well. Looks like Sally's off mute. Did you have a question, Sally? I think not. Okay. So.
Hey, Ryan, this is Keely.
Oh, hey, Keely.
Hi. It looks like in the chat someone was wanting to see number 1 because it got cut off after a little bit. So if you can repeat number 1 for everybody.
Oh, yeah. Hi, chat room. There's all these chats in there. I'm just looking at the, yes, sorry, I'll scroll back up to, there's that. Oh, yeah, that doesn't work. Sorry. Trying to read these here. Sorry. I'm trying to read the questions and it won't let me see both at the same time. Does sitting location in the room impact a guest perspective, sitting in the front or sitting in the back? I would say that, in general, sitting in the back, and this is just my opinion, but sitting in the back of the room, that's kind of where the people that don't pay attention and screw around sit. At least that was my experience when I was in school. That's why I always sit in the back. So I would say, definitely encouraging your guests to sit, maybe not on the very front row, unless if the person is like really outgoing, like extrovert, put them on the front row. Be like, hey, we're sitting on the front row because front row is where all the people who make money sit, right? Make a joke out of it. And somebody with that personality, they'll be like, awesome, front row is it. And they'll want to sit there. If they're not, if they're a little more reserved, then, I would still say, hey, if they try to sit in the back, hey, let's go up to the front or, one of the front rows so that they can see more clearly and just be more engaged. And also there's less people in front of you that are distracting your guest during the presentation. So yeah, I would definitely try to sit closer to the front if possible, for sure. Absolutely. And there should be ushers that are in the room that are kind of guide, as people walking in, hey, good evening. We got a seats, two people. Great. We got 2 seats right here in the second row, left-hand side. Help, have a seat. And so those ushers they do a really good job. They should be filling in the room from the front to the back. And so, yeah, I would encourage people to do that, to sit in the front. And we had another question. Can you do another webinar on how this applies to online intros? Ooh, online intros are very, very, very different. Online intros is, so we, in a nutshell, like I don't use online intros. The only online stuff that we use in our business is AMP, or the AMP videos. And there's kind of a different way to, because we plug people into local events because there's so much power in being there surrounded by other people. And we have had cases where there are people who have signed up who live in an area where there is no local events. So we've gone the AMP route. And so then it's more of a phone conversation, introducing what it is that we're doing, then sending them the video and saying, I'm going to send you this video, watch it. When we watch it by, I'm going to follow up with you on that date. And so then it's just a bunch of conversations between you and the guest to where somebody else off of mute, to where, like, for example, we have the conversation and then they watch the first video and then we follow up, right? We have a follow-up conversation. Oh, FUC. Yeah, we probably shouldn't do that. Follow-up conversation. There we go. A follow-up conversation, and then we build them into, okay, now watch the next AMP video. The next video, then we set, okay, when are you going to watch it? You're going to watch it by Friday? Great. I'll give you a call Friday morning so that we can talk about what you've seen. Then we have a follow-up conversation, right? And so that's kind of how it goes with the online. And it would apply equally if you're not using AMP, but using a pre-recorded intro or an online BIF system or something like that. You have to have these touches, right? So the videos are the automated parts, but more important are the conversation, the follow-up conversation, the follow-up conversation. There is no fully like robot AI system for enrolling people in Renatus. This business doesn't work that way. It's a people business. So you've got to make those touches, those contacts, and let people know, guide them through, and that you do that by way of conversations. So if the only difference here is we're doing these with events, it's the same formula, right? Conversation, they go to event, you follow up, you have a conversation, you book them to the next event, right? And they go to the event, and you have follow-up conversation, and they either buy, they're ready to enroll, or you then push them to the next event, right? And then they go to the next event or the next video, whatever it is. So it's just offline versus online, very similar. I prefer in person because body language and all that so much more powerful, and it's easier to communicate in person. But if your business that you're running is an online business, then for sure you can use the same the same formula. You're just booking people to online videos and then having Zoom calls or conference calls in between those exposures. And okay, I guess that's it. We are at the top of the hour. Congratulations to you guys for being plugged in to this call. Once again, live education, EMT starts tonight in Utah and Super Saturday. So we look forward to seeing you all there, and hope you guys have a great week. Thank you for being on the
Hey,
call.
Ryan.
And, we have a question?
Yeah, can I ask you a quick question with that EMT or
Yes.
that class? What is that exactly?
EMT, good question. EMT is, just reading notes here. Sorry, just a second. I'm seeing if we had any other questions.
Mhm.
And I will
And
explain
also, is
EMT.
it available online that we can plug in? Because I'm in Chicago, and is that live or how is it? How can you attend on that?
So EMT stands for EMT, Elevate Marketing Training. It's something that we're starting. Well, I mean, we've done it many, many times, but it's just kind of an intensive training series. It's 7 weeks. It starts tonight. Tonight's the preview is what we call it. The preview tonight, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more weeks. And this one is the holiday EMT. Jingle bells, jingle bells. So the holiday EMT is focused on, when you look at in Renatus, the historically from a sales standpoint, the highest sales period is the fourth quarter of the year, which means more sales go in during October, November, December than any other time in the year. And I would, I would attribute that to the fact that people are together more at the end of the year for Thanksgiving and Christmas and all the other kind of more family oriented times that folks have around the end of the year. So there's more conversations happening, and people are more open to being able to talk about Renatus and